Really excited to finally be with Ryan the Lion Ashton. Where did the lion first come from? What's with the lion?
Well, it's a good question. I get asked often. So first of all, as a youngster, I have a really loud voice. If I speak normally, it just gets louder and louder and louder. So to be, I guess, normal, I actually make myself quiet like I am now. So I tried to get rid of it and had other nicknames through high school and rugby and all the rest of it. And the funny thing is that it came back. We were at the in Russell for the Auckland to Russell yacht race, and the company my wife works for was a sponsor, and we were there. And it was the morning after the party, and we were all a bit dusty, as you might expect. And we were getting cash out because all the EFTPOS was down. So I go to a cafe, cash out. Anyway, this guy who was and the point is, if you don't know the yacht race, everyone drinks all night and all morning. So pretty much all the sailors are drunk. Anyway, this guy come up, and you could see he was stumbling a bit and whatnot, and didn't realise because we were hungover. But he was wearing a Hawaiian shirt and bright board shorts. Should have given away, but he said, oh, "There's a lion on the loose. There's a lion on the loose. So some arsehole's got a lion in a zoo on his property, and it's out on the loose. So be careful." And we all bought it like suckers, and we're looking around. When we turned back, the guy had whipped off his Hawaiian shirt and his pants and was stark as and crawling around on the ground. And if you've ever been to puppetry the penis, there's all these different things that they do with their genitals, and the lion is one where they flick the balls out the back, and so he had flicked his balls out the back and was walking around on all four going, "Rah, rah, I'm a lion, rah, I'm a lion." So my wife's boss, who's a bit of a character, he's John the Pirate, I'm Ryan the Lion, instantly just went, Ryan the Lion! And for years was trying to convince me I should do the lion across the bar every Friday drinks. So there was my wife's work crew, my work crew, and the next thing it just spread. Of course, then we got into this era of personal branding, and as I mentioned before, I've been on LinkedIn 12 years and built up a bit of a following, and most people knew me as Ryan the Lion, so I thought, I'll try it. And I literally was sort of cringing as I did it, because a lot of people say, "Why do you have a 5-year-old's nickname?" It's like, well, no one ever forgets. No one ever has to write down my email, but it's one of the longest you'll ever find. You name it. So it became sort of stuck, and yeah, now I go to a business event, tech event, and someone will recognise me. In fact, I went into, when I was doing Vanessa Sorensen's email, people in the foyer at Microsoft who I'd never met before all recognised me. "Oh, you're Ryan the Lion." So in terms of personal branding and what I do for AFQY and the fact that I work in sales and marketing, it works a treat. And then of course I extended it with the hashtag Rawsome. So if there's any content I like, I put that on. So if I want to look back for anything that I've tagged, I just look up hashtag Rawsome. And my newsletters or emails that go out always have a variation of the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which is, could be the Lion, the blockchain and the video production coach, which are the two main pieces of content. And the first email I sent out, I was running late. It all happens because of accident really, so I can't claim to be any genius. But I was running so late, I sent the email out at 10 o'clock at night, and that's why I thought, the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And the opening line was, "It's now the witching hour, the kids are in bed, the dishes are done, you're doing your homework for tomorrow to make sure tomorrow's a good day, so you're probably feeling it. This might bring a bit of a chuckle to the cheeks, blah, blah, blah." And press send, and I don't know, went and got some cookies, because the Lion eats half a bag of cookies a night, and came back to my computer and opened it up, and I had like over 100 emails, and I was just freaking out going, "Oh my God, people are going to be telling me off for sending an email at 10 o'clock at night, making their phones think all these things." But it wasn't, it was the opposite. There was all these people going, "That was the funniest thing I've seen for a long time, thanks very much. Yep, the kids are in bed," So I got this really positive reaction, and it just went on from there. So a couple of years in now.
That was the short answer for Ryan the Lion. You've touched on some really interesting points. So personal branding, AFQY, so there is much to talk about. Where did your passion for community come in? Because I'm clear that's what leads to what you do around AFQY. What was the inspiration?
Yeah, so there's a few things. I'll try and keep this short. You can give me a clip around the ears if you need to. John the Tiger.
John the Tiger. Ah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess in all my world travels, I've seen some interesting things. When I was running clubs in the UK, you certainly saw a different side of the world and life. And won't go into detail, but it made me sort of think, well, it's the sort of stuff you see in movies, right? And sort of made me think. And then when I got back to New Zealand and I was in the corporate space, and all I heard was stories of people being shat on from afar. And then I went through a couple of tough employment scenarios. So between employment scenarios and how people treated me there, seeing some movie stuff while I was running clubs in the UK, and then hearing stories of people losing their jobs because they'd signed a contract that was stupid. So I thought, why do we do this to each other? And of course, if you've seen the Pink Shirt Day, have a little bit of a background of being bullied, so there's probably an influence to that, to be sure. And the idea was that bringing AFQY together as a community and having the no selling rule was to help drive better behaviour out of humans by, I guess, leading by example or setting an example. So you don't have to come to AFQY, but if you do, you can't break the rules of no selling. If you do, you get red carded, so you get banned for 3 events. And that was the conduit, or that was the catalyst probably. It was the catalyst from growing from a small number to a big number. The red card was the rules, the structure, the process. Yeah, well, just to finish on that, the idea is that after 3 events you can come back, so it's to test your character. If you've got some kahunas, or whatever you want to label it, but if you've got good character, then you come back and you go, yep, stuffed up, but now I'll behave. And the one person who did is now one of the biggest advocates and a life member. The other one has taken just on 16 months, but he came back to the last event. He snuck in the back door towards the end and said, thought I'd come back and get things sorted. So I said, more than welcome, come on in. Now, why this works, or what happened is the first event it jumped from 60 to 200 people. And
that was for the red. That was
from red carding. Yeah.
And what was the catalyst to introduce a red card?
So it was there, and what I thought was, how do I penalise someone, but not make it impossible for them to come back? I think I was actually doing my level 2 rugby coaching course at the time, and one of the big lessons was when you tell a player off, you've got to give them the ability to come out of that with their head high, so that they want to carry on and continue to progress, rather than going and giving up on the game or the sport. So it's like, well, how do I let people come back from this? So I can't be banned forever. And in fact, it's sort of all, in this agile world, it all just sort of came together as we're doing it, or as I was doing it, and you get red carded for doing the wrong behaviour, and jumping from 60 to 200 really confirmed that people thought it was a good idea. And then more recently, about 18 months ago, I red carded another person and put a post up. First time I didn't, because that was 8 years ago, and the sort of use of LinkedIn was a bit more immature. Whereas today, so I got a picture of a red card from a sports game and put "you've been red carded" and told the story without outing them. So I won't out them or anything like that, because again, that's over shaming. But it went, I guess you could say, viral. It had something like 80,000 views, 60, 70 comments, and 200, 250 likes. And I actually got a phone call. I won't say who the person was, but I got this phone call out of the blue. I just picked up the phone and said hello, and the person went, "Did you really red card a person for selling at your event?" And it was like my dad when I was a kid telling me off, and I kind of went, "Yes." Like, where's this going? He goes, so what does that mean? Did you march them out, throw them out of your event? It was like, well, no, they'd actually left by the time, and then they'd left by the time that the person or the 2 people had informed me, because they didn't want to do it. No one wants to be a narc, right? But they did want to keep the integrity of the event because they appreciate it. So they told me after they'd left. But what it transpired to be, well, who it transpired to be was CIO of one of the largest banks in the country. And when he announced who it was, I literally said, "Holy shit!" And he's like, "What?" And I said, "Well, it's you. I didn't really expect to get a phone call from you." And the discussion, I guess, there was a bit of an icebreaker. The discussion quickly went along the lines of, so I can really come to AFQY and not be sold to. And I said, "Well, yeah, as long as someone doesn't break the rules, and if they do, we can red card them." He said, "So I can come along and I can talk rugby and I can talk shit and not get sold to." And I said, "Yes, again, you can." He goes, "Oh, that's great, because for a number of years now, I go to events and you can't build a genuine relationship with anyone, because at some point in time you think things are going really well and you're talking about the kids or whatever, the next thing the sales pitch comes out." He said, "So if I can just come along there and relax and enjoy and build some genuine relationships with people in the industry, then I'm there. When is the next one?" I was like, 2 days away." I was like, "Oh, I'm running my own event. I can't come. I'm speaking. I'm the speaker at my own event, an internal one." So anyway, I'm at AFQY, and you know what it's like when people are coming through the door, and I turned and was facing the bar, and with my door to the back, and the next thing I get this big mitt on my shoulder. Oompa. And he's like, "I'm here." And I was like, "I thought you were doing your speech." He said, "That's what a 2IC's for. I had my speech over, and I had to come and check it out." So I said, "Look, I won't babysit you, and I won't make it like the most amazing experience. I'll just let you experience whatever happens. So I'll catch you at the end before you go." He's like, "Great." So he came and approached me and said, "Look, this is amazing. We really need a lot more of this. The breaking down of barriers through the introductions, the relaxed nature, the fact you can't sell, you can't flick out cards." He said it really sets a good scene, and this is from
And
one of
you've
the most.
seen your community grow because of that. Your personal community grow because people get to know Ryan rather than what Ryan does for a living. I mean, obviously they know what Ryan does for a living now.
Because it's so visible.
Not so visible. Did you get that? Did you get that?
Yeah. Well, I deliberately wore it because...
Well, of course, it's an opportunity. It's personal branding,
Yeah.
which rolls into the next question. When did you get to see how important personal branding was to you and your business?
I think I always knew it was, having worked in sales and marketing, because in sales you get the stereotypical sales label before people get to know you. So you have to break down that and prove that you are something.
Of substance.
Before personal branding was a thing, I think Wikipedia says 2013 or 2015. I think it's always been a thing for salespeople who are
And certainly
not the
influencers
stereotype.
and personalities about personal brand.
Yeah, so now that social media has come about, it's evolved. But from my personal journey, I think it started with sales, and with my work between sales and marketing, I cottoned onto it, and it was more getting the feedback from people that really surprised me. To begin with, I get feedback about my LinkedIn activity, and I get people requesting information, all sorts of stuff. But now, as we're talking about it, it's still, I don't know, it's still kind of embarrassing or awkward or humbling. You walk into a room and someone goes, "Oh, you're Ryan the Lion. I see you on LinkedIn," or "I've been to your event," and you're like, "Oh, hey, thanks very much."
Yeah.
That's the effect of personal branding working.
There's and interested to get your opinion on this, and there was a post just recently, I think it was this morning on LinkedIn, where we were talking about if an enterprise person starts sharing their opinions, voice, insights, whatever it is, on their LinkedIn personal page, and how does that relate back to their business? So it's kind of like, how would you recommend someone to start building their personal brand through video or text or images on their LinkedIn profile that may not necessarily marry with the brand values of the business that they work with?
Well, my first comment, and this is a totally different story, is that if the person's values don't fit with the brand values that they work for, they're probably in the wrong place. If you're an employee of a business, and when I do my training, I do a section on this, but if you're an employee of a business, you have a contract, and if you break the terms of those contracts in any space, you're up for dismissal or review. So I don't encourage people to do what I do. I run my own business, so I'm responsible for myself. And on the other side of it, you should do what you want to do, be yourself, the magic, authentic, and genuine words. So, in terms of where you should start, I think where you feel comfortable, because again, it's you. If text is the easiest, then post. If you want to go video, it's not like you have to do 2,000 posts and text before you can do video. There's no rules, and all that I'm sharing is my opinion and my experience and learnings. Someone can come along and change the game tomorrow. And in fact, we saw that a couple of years ago with all the posts that come with a line of text and a gap, a line of text and a gap, a line of text and a gap. And I remember a bunch of the old timers. I can remember 2 posts in particular where they were ripping them off, and it's like, well, I kind of was a bit. I was feeling. I was like, who are these new kids come along and shitting in my nest? Well, hang on, what's going on here? But then in reality, I thought about in my training, I do 4 guiding principles, and the relevant one is social media evolves daily, so should your use. So I thought, bugger it, I've got to evolve. And if they're doing that, then what am I going to do that's going to be the next leapfrog past it? And actually, that was one of the things why I got into video, because video released on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure I recorded the first LinkedIn video in New Zealand, because it's got to be verified, but it literally came up as the video icon as I was getting on a plane. And I pulled my phone out and started recording, and I got told that I could get fined and all this sort of stuff, so I put my phone away. So I got up and into the plane, and as soon as I got in the plane, I recorded it and said, I think this is the first LinkedIn video, because I had been on it in the gangway, and literally it's like, it wasn't there, now it's there, I'm recording, boom. And all it was a really shit recording of I like the cabin, and I thought, posted it. So when I got off the plane, an hour and a half later, there were all these comments and things, and it was like, something new. So I thought, leapfrog, go video.
Speaking of leapfrogging and evolution, where do you see your personal brand and your business model moving for 2019 and beyond?
Ooh, that's a good question. So
again, without
no.
We have no contract. There's no what do you call an NDA? We're not going to say anything. But you're going from strength to strength.
I was laughing because I've been talking with my wife at home, who's going to be a big part of AFQI next year, and I've the Chinese zodiac, the year of the dragon, and the year of the goat, and the year of the dog, and all the rest of it. By the way, I'm a fire dragon. So there's the 12 zodiacs, and then there's 5 elements, and the fire dragon is apparently someone who never shuts up. So there you go, it's true.
Okay.
So I've been joking that 2019 is going to be the year of organisation for Ryan, the Lion, and AFQY, because all of my clients will piss themselves laughing and go, so right. For example, I was editing the Wellington AFQY video from
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago on the trip in, and I've still got Christchurch and Auckland. But all my client videos are out on time. Just right. Anyway, so the year 2019 will be the year of organisation, and there are.
And you've got some other. So I'm going to jump in. You've also got some other talks that you've been. Obviously, you've got your AFQI.
I was going to say I've actually publicised AFQI Experience Talks, which is coming, and that's one that I've asked you to be a speaker at, and that's what I'm going to interview you about in a second. So originally, AFQI Experience Talks was a way to scale mentoring of CIOs to young IT people. Because 5 to 10 years ago, I used to get asked all the time, Ryan, the CIO, can you introduce me? I need a mentor. And you do it and say, over you guys, you work it out. And of course, what happened, I thought, how do we scale this? How do we make this better for NZ Inc? How do we get more people learning from the experienced Richie McCaws of our industry? And that was what it was about. But now what I've seen and understood is that AFQY is all about the people. So Experience Talks won't just be a series of CIOs and CDOs sharing with who wants to come and learn, but I'm going to take a real people focus. So it's not going to be in a tech industry, but I'm going to run a very people focused Experience Talks. I've had a couple of my concepts used before, so by all means, if someone wants to go ahead. But the aim is that this is going to be quite different, because it's not so much about come and sit and listen to someone teach you about tech or social media or any subject. It's going to be about the human experience.
which is moving it more from you've predominantly been, and while, if we look at the social channels and we see Facebook's a bit more consumer focused and LinkedIn business, at the end of the day, it's business to people, isn't it? Whether you're talking about, we start in that business base and then you go, so well, we're all people, we all learn. So it's kind of, you move into a consumer space, and just remember us. Remember the little people when you get to like 100,000 followers, more than Jeff Weiner or whatever his name is.
Oh, I don't think that'll ever really happen. I'm just a little kid from Dunedin, mate, so I'm quite happy.
You can't take the personality out of the Otago boy, right? Or whatever that saying is going. And speaking of family, what influence does your family have on your future self? Like growing up on Otago, I know it's like, it's a new breed of people, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to see my brother for the first time in 10 years this Christmas. So we're coinciding back in Dunedin, and that'll be interesting. I'll probably do a yarn with him. He's, AFQY comes from the tech industry, and he is a reasonably accomplished tech person. Mum's a CIO. He did his degree in comp sci. And I was the artist, so
you can see where the inspiration comes from. What last question from those early days in Dunedin and Otago boys, wasn't it? What was the first thing about tech that you went, man, this is for me? Or was it something your mother said, or was it your mother did? Where did that piece come from?
Probably Load Runner. So me and my mate across the road, John McKera, used to play. When the weather was good, we'd be at his property playing in the trees, and we had fortresses set up, and we could cover it must have been a good 40, 50 square metre space without touching the ground by going from one tree to another tree to another tree. When the weather was bad, we'd be inside on the Commodore 64, and this is like when we were 9, so it's going back 33 years, maybe even younger. Yeah, actually 5-ish, so anyway, Commodore 64 and Load Runner. And we also built 169 stages. We discovered this after we clocked it a couple of times, that you can build your own stages. So we built our own stages. With Mum being in tech, we'd just had a progression of, so we had what was called an Intellivision, which was a predecessor to Atari game thing. Mm-hmm. So we used to play baseball, and we used to have like the whole softball club round for parties, having baseball competitions on the thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Blame the Commodore 64?
No. So we then upgraded to a 386 upgradable, which in those days, Mum and Dad had to remortgage the house to buy, just to give you an idea, which is $7,000. But
they did that to please you? Wow.
No, because Mum worked in IT. So we were loading up the Encarta CDs, which are the encyclopedias. And literally in our home, the rack of encyclopedias that we barely read were behind us, and the computer was in front of us. And I drew a little picture on, because I was an artist, right? So I drew the picture on a piece of paper that was a person's head, and what you would now consider a little thumb drive or flash drive. And I said, because the CD took so long for it to boot up and we're up, I said to Mum, why can't they just put a thing like that on the side of our head, and we just download all the information? Well, it didn't say download because it wasn't a word then, but the information just goes into our head and we have it in there. And Mum was like, yeah, one day that will happen. And actually this morning, looking on LinkedIn, they now have a brain implant which paraplegics can do everything. So we, about a year ago, saw these headbands that they were using to use electrical impulses to power stuff, but nowhere near this. It's a World Economic Forum video, and this brain implant, and basically you watch a screen and people are typing, people are moving the mouse, they're doing just like you and I would with a mouse and our hands, they're doing it with their mind. So I'll tag you in later on, but what I was thinking of as a kid then, like just plugging the information, we now almost have that connection. I think we do have the connection. Think it and it will happen.
And it's interesting that to frame that is tech, and then there's getting to know the person, and how those two perfectly combine to be, your vision of connecting people and tech. But and then the evolution and the growth for you for 2019. Good luck with next year. We look forward to going to AFQY and AFQY Experience Talks, did you say?
Experience Talks, yeah.
And
there's more coming, but
look, there is. Look,
that will be you'll find out in due course.
Ryan the Lion has only just started. I'm going to ask. This is the shortest interview I've done with the least number of questions because he's given me a 4-minute response on every question. This is. I'm quite good with my timing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to have you on the John Mabry Show.
Yeah, pleasure to be on the John Mabry Show. I'm looking forward to the TVNZ deal, mate.